There are 3 ways that you, as a faculty member, might hear about the Office for Students with Disabilities. The first way is when a student approaches you with the infamous blue form.
So once in my Writing 90 class, as I do at the beginning of each term, I read my special needs policy to the class. The students were able to read along because it's written in my course handouts. I also tell them that having a disability is not a reason to fail. Well, at the end of this class, a student handed me her blue form and she ran out the door. I was not able to meet with her. So I contacted her counselor that was listed on the blue form and we went over her accommodations. This student needed more time on the test and a quiet space to take the test. The counselor also told me that the OSD office offers proctoring services for faculty. So I thought this was a great way to help this student. So later I met with the student and I explained to her that I did talk to her counselor and that we had talked about the proctoring services that the office offers. And she said this would be fine. The 3 of us, the student, myself, and the OSD office worked together to meet this student's needs, and this student was able to be successful in this class.
The second scenario is when a student claims to have a disability but has no documentation.
Recently I had a teaching experience that was new to me. At the first test of the semester, one of the students came up and said, I failed the test. I failed the test because I have a learning disability. I'd like to retake the test, be given some additional time, or even be allowed to take the test home. Since the student didn't give me any sort of documentation like a blue form, I wasn't required to provide additional testing accommodations, so I was unsure what to do. Now that I've worked with the Office of Student Disabilities, I know my response to the situation where a student informs me they have a learning disability is twofold. First of all, even if the student informs me in the classroom in front of the other students that they have a learning disability, I try to continue the conversation in private. Second, I am not trained to diagnose learning disabilities, so I encourage the student to make an appointment with the counselors at the Office of Student Disability, or I may even walk the student there myself. Now, when I start each quarter, I inform my students to let me know as soon as possible and in private if they have any additional instructional needs. I also include in my syllabus the PCC required ADA statement.
Finally, you may suspect a struggling student has a disability.
I recently received a phone call from an instructor regarding a student who was struggling in his class, and the student was doing poorly on tests, having difficulty in the activities of the course, and the instructor also shared with me he thought the student might have a disability. So we discussed it a little bit, and he really wanted to know, how can I get that student over to visit with you? How do I bring up the disability issue? And I suggested that he not bring up the disability issue, that he put that aside and focus on the actual difficulties the student was having, and to have a meeting with that student and talk about, why are you having difficulties with the course? Is it difficulty with reading? Are you understanding the lectures? Talk about study skills, and through that kind of discourse, the student could possibly bring up the fact that they experience a disability, that they may have had assistance in high school. And when they do that, that's the appropriate time to make mention of the Office for Students with Disabilities. If they don't bring up the issue of disability, then certainly list off all the different resources that might benefit that student and the difficulty they're having, and do include Office for Students with Disabilities. In all cases, always give us a call.